There comes a time when we must choose. In reality, our big choices are often the result of many daily, hourly, or regular choices we've already made. Life or death, that is the ultimate choice that we make. A free gift of life with Christ, or the results of my life with my sins fully exposed for me to try and atone for. That's really the whole thing in a nutshell, right? So I want to look at some stuff. Deuteronomy 30, 15 through 19 says this. And this is, what version am I reading here? This is the New Living Translation. It says, "Now listen, today I'm giving you a choice between life and death, between prosperity and disaster. For I command you this day to love the Lord your God and to keep his commandments, decrees, and regulations by walking in his ways. If you do this, you will live and multiply, and the Lord your God will bless you in the land you're about to enter and occupy. But if your heart turns away and you refuse to listen, and if you're drawn away to serve and worship other gods, then I warn you now that you will certainly be destroyed. You will not live a long and good life in the land you are crossing the Jordan to occupy. Today I have given you the choice between life and death, between blessing and curses. Now I call on heaven and earth to witness the choice you make. Oh, that you would choose life, so that you and your descendants might live." You choose. God gave man choice. We have the ability to choose. Don't ever lose sight of that. You have the ability to choose. Your life and what you do with it is driven by the choices that you make. And in this instance here, the Jewish people are being given a choice, very clearly, a choice between life and death. And it says, but I want you to choose life. And that's not changed in any way, and it's exactly what we face in everything that we do, in every choice that we make, is you have a choice, but choose God. Choose life. Choose good. And if you look at the original text here, the word life is the idea of alive. You might not be surprised by that. But literally, it's alive. Choose alive versus dead. You ever heard it said, I was dead in sin? Or I was dead on the inside? It says choose to be alive, right? And it's, again, choosing God. Well, who is God? He is life. He is existence. Choose to exist and live and be alive, right? That's the choice that we have in front of us all the time. And you say, well, I could just hang on to this little bit of bitterness or hatred, unforgiveness. What are you choosing? Death? I could lie for the sake of my reputation. What are you choosing? Death? Choose life. Choose to be alive. And the word death in the original literally means Hades or hell. So choose to be alive or choose hell. That's literally what it's saying. Which do you want? Do you want to be alive or do you want to be in hell? You ever heard somebody say, my life is a living hell? Right? Let's take a look at your choices. You might have made some bad ones. Right? Here's a spoiler alert. Choose God and you have life everlasting. Choose God, you don't have anything to worry about. That's really what it comes down to. Now, I want to look at another story. I want to go to the New Testament and look at a new set of choices. This is found in Matthew 27, verses 15 through 23. Now, it was the governor's custom each year during Passover celebration to release one prisoner to the crowd. So you know where we're talking about in the Bible. Jesus has been there, and Pilate has interviewed him and all that stuff. It says, anyone they wanted, anyone the crowd wanted. This year there was a notorious prisoner, a man named Barabbas. As the crowds gathered before Pilate's house that morning, he asked them, "Which one do you want me to release to you? Barabbas or Jesus, who is called the Messiah?" He knew very well that the religious leaders had arrested Jesus out of envy. Just then, as Pilate was sitting on the judgment seat, his wife sent him his message. "Leave that innocent man alone. I suffered through a terrible nightmare about him last night." Apparently, this was right after cell phones became available. She texted him. Meanwhile, the leading priest and the elders persuaded the crowd to ask for Barabbas to be released and for Jesus to be put to death. So the governor asked again, "Which of these two do you want me to release to you?" And the crowd shouted back, "Barabbas." Pilate responded, "Then what should I do with Jesus, who's called the Messiah?" And they shouted back, "Crucify him." "Why?" Pilate demanded. "What crime has he committed?" See, in a very real and practical way, what Pilate said is, choose. Do you want life or death? You choose. He put it in front of them. You choose. And we know by reading this account that he was kind of amazed that they were making the choice they were making. Like, ask him, let me try this again. Which one? Because you're making a really dumb choice here. Right? Do you want to try one more time? When somebody asks you a question and you answer, and they say, let me ask you one more time. That should be a clue, right? I'm sorry, what? Did you hear what I said? Let me try this one more time. Do you want life, eternal, or living hell? You choose. You choose Jesus, the one who claims to be the Messiah, which sounds like life to me, right? Do you want that, or do you want Barabbas? Now, Jesus, it says he knew that the religious leaders had arrested him out of envy, right? They were upset because he was claiming to be something they just found, preposterous. He can't be the Son of God. Right? That's not possible. It offended them. Do you know how many people I have in my church? Do you know how many people think I'm a great speaker? Do you know what I'm saying? There was a little bit of, shall we say, self-promotion involved. They didn't like that. Who does this guy think he is? So that was the claim they made against him. He's so prideful and puffed up. He's basically misrepresenting himself to the church, to the people. That was the claim against him. Pilate said, "Wait a minute. What crime has he committed? Is there a crime there?" Were they saying he was, essentially running an insurrection, an attack against the church? No, they found themselves offended. They chose to be offended, right? Which is, I'll just tell you straight up, that's 100% true all the time. When you're offended, you chose to be offended. You had a choice. Somebody could say something really wrong, hateful, whatever, It's your choice to be offended or not. Because you could also be forgiving. Do you want to be forgiving or do you want to be offended? There's people who walk around today, they're offended by everything. They're offended by you breathing air. They're offended by cows passing gas. You know? I mean, personally, I never cared that much about whether a cow passed gas, right? As long as he eats the grass and, has a good flavor when we barbecue him, I don't really care. Of course, they're probably offended by your barbecue. Right? So they've got all these trumped up charges against Jesus. You're out there promoting yourself. You're running an insurrection or an attack against the church and the government and all kinds of stuff. Boy, they got it all. And here's Pilate who's in charge. He's like, but I don't see anything here. You guys are going to have to choose what you want to do because I don't see a crime. And they said, no, we want Barabbas. Now, Barabbas really means son of the Father. Isn't that kind of ironic? And Barabbas was charged with several things, one of which was sedition, meaning speaking against and trying to overthrow the government. Right? So you've got Jesus, whose life being accused of the stuff that Barabbas is guilty of. Right? Isn't that weird? Kind of ironic. Yeah, he'd been charged with sedition, murder. He was a disruption. He was a disrupting force. There wasn't going to be peace with Barabbas. There was going to be unrest. So again, you choose. Do you want life to be alive, to have existence? Do you want to choose the Prince of Peace? Or do you want to choose disruption and conflict and death? Murder is death, right? Somebody said murder, death, killing. Was it you? Okay, it sounded like it was closer up. Yeah. I mean, I'm proud of you for coming up with that, but I just... That's all right. See, the point I want to make today, the thing I want you to understand is that it's the choices that we make every day that'll influence the choices that you make that are the quote-unquote big choices. If you choose to be offended by every little thing, you're going to be offended to the point that it's going to affect you. It's going to affect your choices, and you're going to end up choosing death. If you choose unforgiveness long enough, it will destroy you. It will absolutely destroy you. And just on the surface, very quickly, the Bible tells me that if I don't forgive, I can't be forgiven. So if I choose not to forgive, I can't receive this free gift of forgiveness from Christ because I choose death. Does that make sense? And I'm trying to hammer this point really hard because it's important. Unforgiveness will eat you alive from the inside out. It'll cause trust issues. It'll cause peace issues. Like every other addiction, it will cause anxiety. Because all addictions come with anxiety. It's one of the side effects Maybe if you didn't read the fine print on the bag of weed that you bought, maybe you missed that part. But all addictions come with anxiety. You dealing with anxiety? You got things that are troubling you? Your spirit is disrupted? What are the choices you've been making? Not trying to be hard, trying to be helpful. Yes? Yes, it can absolutely cause you to have hatred. Because one of the problems with unforgiveness is when I have unforgiveness, I elevate myself to a godlike status. Who are they to offend me? Right? Who are they to offend me? And the flip side of that is, well, if I forgive them, it's like condoning their actions. No, it's not. It's like getting yourself free from flypaper. Right? That's really what it's like. I don't have to carry all that nonsense around. I don't have to walk into a room and remember why I don't like somebody. Right? I don't have to walk into a room and relive the hurt. I can just walk up and say, "Hey, how you doing? It's good to see you." And I can mean it. Well, you do kind of kill them with kindness, but if that's your motive, it might not be the right way to go about it, right? All right, fine, I'll kill you with kindness. I don't care how you die, just die, right? But we have to be able to get past those things. I have news for you. You don't have to look for something to be offended by or hurt by. There's plenty of it out there just naturally. It'll just happen. Don't sweat it. Right? It'll just show up like that. Yes. And we have to have a little bit of grace when we're dealing with human beings because they're not perfect, and neither are you. Right? I remember years ago, I was at an event, and they always tell us to wear your name tag when you're at an event. So if one of the board members or one of the executives comes into the room, they can identify you very quickly as an employee, and they can look and see what your name is because they don't necessarily remember everybody, right? There's, if you've got several thousand employees, it's kind of hard to necessarily know all of them by name, right? And I was at this event, and the boss, the big boss, walked into the room and introduced himself to me. I didn't have my name tag on. And I had just seen him like 2 months earlier, had a conversation with him, but he'd probably seen 10,000 people since then, right? But then I looked stupid in front of my volunteers, like, who's that, right? And it was on me, but I could have gotten offended, like, well, all the work that I do and they don't even know who I am? Get over yourself, right? Not how it is. You could meet somebody. Pastor was just down at the district council. I mean, it would be entirely possible that you would walk in and somebody that's higher up in the assemblies of God would look and not even know you, even though maybe they met you once before or something, and you could be offended by that or not. It's way cooler when they know who you are, yes, but you could be offended. Right? It could happen. You have to choose. What am I going to let bother me today? Or am I just going to let it go? Am I just going to trust God? Am I just going to look for things to rejoice in? Am I going to look for things to thank God for? I would tell you that if you set out at the beginning of the day to find things to thank God for, you'll have a much better day. Right? I thank God. That person didn't recognize me. That's okay. I thank God that I'm here to be recognized. I mean, I'm alive and breathing. I could say, I really appreciate all the work that they do, and I have the opportunity to work with them. That's fantastic. Somebody could say something hurtful to you, and you could say, I thank God that I have the opportunity to just go through this and trust you, God. I don't have to worry about man's approval. We all like our attaboys, but I'm really looking for the well done, thou good and faithful servant. That's really the one I'm looking for. See, changing with the times, what? We have to choose life. And anytime we hang on to something, or we choose to be offended, or we allow something to take us off track, we're not choosing life. We're choosing death. Anytime we let pride step up in our life, we're choosing death. I sometimes tell married couples, try this. Instead of arguing, try competing to see who can be the first to forgive. Who can be the first? I forgive you. Ha! Well, I forgive you more. Well, I forgive you best. Be the first one. Forgive. Get free of whatever the problem is quicker than the other person. Get it right. So I'm good with God. I'm good with them. I'm free. And I've set a pattern. Because you will do what you repeat, right? You will do that and default. People say practice makes perfect. No, it does not. Practice makes same. If you sit down and you're going to practice, hitting in baseball, and you practice swinging incorrectly, you're not going to be perfect. You're just going to be really stuck in a rut, right? If you're a musician and you practice playing a scale and you play it wrong, and you practice it over and over and over and over and over again wrong, guess what? You will play it wrong because you have learned to do it the same. If you practice forgiving, if you practice choosing God, if you practice choosing life, if you practice forgiving and being happy, and if you practice looking for things to thank God for, guess what? In a pinch, you're going to do exactly that. You're going to thank God. You're going to forgive. You're going to choose life. But it's those little choices all the way down the line that influence what we call the big choices in life. You say, well, there's things you have to understand. My wife cheated on me, or my husband cheated on me. Horrible. What did you choose? Choose to forgive? Or did you choose to be offended? Well, you don't understand. That's not okay, and I'm not condoning it. I didn't say you should condone it. You definitely need to work that issue out. But you don't need to carry that baggage around. You can let that go. Why? We need to learn to choose. You need to practice making the right choice. Win every day, all day long, every day. My dad used to say, I've said this to married couples for years, do not, it's in the Bible, do not go to bed angry. Somebody said, well, stay up all night and fight if you have to, but yeah, I think it was my sister that said that. But the reality is, choose not to. We are not going to bed till we resolve this issue. We might have to agree to disagree, but we're not going to be angry about it. We're going to set anger aside. Because you know what? When you're angry, when you're hurt, when you're tired, you make bad choices. When the enemy is able to hurt you, when the enemy is able to cause things for you to carry around and stuff, you have created a method, a way, a means for him to attack you. And you will get attacked over and over and over again. Practice choices. I need to have practice choices. So my commitment prayer is this: Father God, I choose you. I accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior. Forgive me of my sins and guide me today to make the right choice. You in all that I do today. That's where we need to be. That's what we need to have on our lips, is forgiveness and love and grace and mercy, because that's what we've been given. We need to have truth. We need to speak Jesus instead of hurt and death and destruction. So if you're dealing with anything today where anxieties and things that have been plaguing you and bothering you, I would just encourage you, start making the right choice. Start choosing to be alive. And stop choosing to live in hell. And that's it.